Hi, I'm here with one of my coaches, James Reilly, and we're going to break down some fencing that me and my friend Josias and also James Reilly's student are doing. We're going to kind of look at what we do right, what we do wrong, and we're going to get an expert opinion on it. So let's go.
So here we go. So I'm liking this posture. I like this posture from both of you. Both of you are sitting in a good, equally distributed stance. Both of you have good hinge, right? So that you're creating this sort of strong structure as you're opposing your training partner. Like this especially, like this is great structure here. It makes me very confident that the types of motion that we're going to get from you guys is going to be good motion, right? So I'm waiting. So this is smart. This is some higher level stuff right here. What Josias just did there was he actually he brought himself a little closer without making it look like it, right? The foot you would think that he's closer now with that foot forward, right? But by withdrawing his foot here, but leaving his body where he was, he actually committed more of his weight forward of his foot, right? Which means that he just created explosive power towards you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
That right there is a pro gamer move.
Nice.
Right? That right there is like that's some good stuff, right? And so we're just waiting. Good. He brings his sword forward. He doesn't do anything with his body. He brings his sword forward, and what I think he's doing here is probing to see what kind of response you're going to get. Now it looks like he got nothing from you here, right? And what I might have done in this situation is I might have gone right back up onto my shoulder. And then I might have sheesened to hit, right? Because by bringing this foot back like this, he may have actually brought himself into the Krieg, right? So he might have enough explosive power to make this shooting step able to reach you, right? In time before you can get your action off. Right? So he's here, and he's just probing to see what you're going to do. All right, and now. So he didn't like the fact that you remained still.
Yeah.
And so what he said to himself tactically is like, I'm not convinced I want to create motion. And sometimes that's the appropriate call, but other times you got to take stillness as a sign that they're not going to do anything, right? And that's sort of why I was suggesting like, hey, you were so still, I might want to sheasen into that, right? The fact that he's not satisfied, he wants to create motion, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
And then he's able to work. He's able to feint and get me.
Right. He is able to create the motion. Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. Yep. So what he's doing here is so he creates the motion. So he's not creating it with this initial action.
No.
Right? What this initial action is doing is setting you up so that you have to bring your sword to your left side, his right? By threatening that short edge thrust, but not really threatening it, just kind of using it as a way to create motion. It left you in this place of stillness where his next offensive action you had to respond to. And as you did, your sword comes to your right, and he hesitates for just a moment, right? And he waits for your point to go past, and he cuts. It actually functions more as a duplirin.
Oh, really?
It does. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because of the way that the way that the contact he's cutting long edge on that side of the blade. So you see how you're here. If you were to parry this, right? Because you strengthen against it. And so if you were to parry by bringing your sword across and he's cutting long edge, his hitter still hits. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you don't even get that far with it. So his setup was too good there. So let's go back and look at that one more time. That's really, really great stuff. So what he's doing here is he's saying, okay, I'm not satisfied that there's no motion, right? Even though there's a possibility he could thrust through your weak right now because of the way that he set himself up. So he creates a little bit of motion, not here, still stillness.
Yeah.
But by giving that particular action, he forces you to respond to this one.
Yeah.
And then as you do, he hesitates just a hair. You cross past his sword, and he's able to hit.
Yeah.
And then there's a good taker, shortest taker on the withdrawal, just to make sure that you don't get an afterblow in there. So that's really excellent stuff. Good. I want to look at this. This is good. So good posture. You have a similar posture that he had going into that. So that's great. Sword moves first. I love it. And you're in the Sufechten, and he's not really doing anything. You know, and you weaken against stillness.
Yeah.
And so what should he do?
He should stab me or hit
Where?
my hands.
Yeah, stab you in the hands.
Yep.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Right? As soon as you bailed on your initial action. Let's talk about this real quick though. His sword is low. It's probably not safe to threaten an offense, like to threaten an overhow to either side, given the way that his sword is low. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What do you do? How should you deal with a training partner who is coming into the Krieg, or on the edge of the Sufechten with their sword low like this?
Is this where I want to take their sword or make them move?
Well, so there's a couple different ways you can do that, right? You can do like a Verkeren, or you can do a some kind of like crump to the blade, like a taking action where you like basically if you can get a crosswise action where your strong is on top of their point to prevent the Durchwechseln, then that's a good way to enter into those situations. But that can be very risky if your training partner's point is very nimble. Okay. Right? And so for me, the way that I like to deal with that situation is I just point at their hands. Right? So if I see Hosius standing there with his sword essentially low, right? And still like this, I'm not going to threaten an overhow, because really he's already in position to deal with anything I throw, right? Like he could just, as you enter, he could just stab the hands and withdraw, right? Certainly. So in this case, it looks like you're looking to cut on top of his blade. He Durchwechselns and freezes point, and now you withdraw your sword. He should be stabbing you in the hands right now. In that moment, all of these moments, he should be stabbing you in the hands. That was a pretty good taker. So we were talking about how to set yourself up for extending your arms forward into your thrust to take your turn back. This is pretty good. And so it might, and also his weight, he plants his weight on the back foot just as you guys make blade contact. So, it's a little, so as soon as he hits that foot, he could be extending his arms forward into the thrust. Although you do have your hands pretty high, and it's in the way of your mask. So, this might be fine. You might be playing at a safe distance right now. That might be okay. I think I would have attempted to, as soon as you guys made blade contact here and I planted that back foot, I would have attempted to shoot my arms forward to try and hit the thrust and force your hands higher, right? Because that you would have to force your hands higher. Do you see that? Yeah. If he's thrusting at shoulder level, your strong is not in the way of his thrust to your mask, so you would have to lift your hands higher, and that might be an opportunity to tag to the hands afterwards. But good. I like this position. This is that plow position, right? That's a good strong plow. You can see that anything on that side won't land. All right, now you guys are fighting for the bind. I like this. Sword moves first. Sword moves first, and then he steps into your pressure. Now, in this case, he might take on... Where is your sword? Okay. So you come back down on the same side. I'm not sure why you do that.
No, it's the other side, I think.
So?
It's hard to see.
Yeah. So we're here.
He moves his sword to the side. And
that
then comes down to the other side, and I hit his hand on the thumb just a little bit. I don't know if that would have done anything because the glove is bulky.
I think that's on his left side.
Okay.
Do you see what I see?
Yeah.
So you know what that tells me?
What?
Here's what happened. He threatens motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
You withdraw. This is that frequency modus game coming into play. As you move to Zucken, he keeps his sword on the same side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so as you cut down, right,
Mm-hmm.
you hit his cross and he's right back in that same position. If he extends a strong thrust with keeping his point, hilt, and arms in a straight line out from his chest,
Mm-hmm.
he nails you in the face. But the body moves first here. He should be extending his arm forward. And he's like, you're just out of range. Yeah. Just out of range.
Yeah, I didn't hit his thumb. I remember this exchange. Nothing happened.
But do you see what I'm talking about with regards to the?
Yeah, I do.
We'll stop there because that's really, really advanced fencing what he just did. Right? I want to be clear about this, right?
Yeah.
You forced the Zucken. Now he doesn't chase the Duplaren. Why?
Because
his foot is not in position.
Yeah. Okay.
So what he does is he says, no, you stay on that side.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when we play frequency modus later, we'll do this, right?
Yeah.
Where you move to Zucken and I'll just keep you on that side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
That's what he's doing here. You're moving to Zucken and he's keeping you on that side. And you're trying to Zucken tight because if you give him a big action, now he gets to chase that, right?
Yeah.
But what he's doing instead is he is so focused on your sword that he's forcing you to stay on his left side. That is really, really advanced fencing. And now he could very easily shoot his arms forward and nail that thrust to your face. But because his foot is, he doesn't extend.
Yeah.
He's all the way here. No extension, 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 no extension. And now his arms start to go.
Yeah.
Right? And if his arms had gone earlier, and then the other thing too is he weakens in the thrust too.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see it.
So instead of this all being in one straight line,
mm-hmm.
which would put his tip here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
This is weak. And so he's got this line, and then he's got this line. And so because of that, he loses 3 inches. And 3 inches is all
what
it took.
You needed, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That's a really great exchange. From his part. I want to say though, for you too, let's talk about that for a second. That's good fencing on your part too, right? It was sort of that was good defense, better offense, at least in the sense of that.
Yeah.
That frequency modus stuff. Of course, he shit the bed on the thrust a little bit, but that's
I'll
okay.
I'll bleep that out.
Whoops. Right, but like the way that he keeps your sword on that side, that motion, that would be lost on so many people.
Yeah.
Right. You lift your sword and threaten to go to the other side. He doesn't swing his sword this way to try and catch you. Right. He is totally tethered to your motion, and so when you and he creates that wall so that when you come back down, you're forced back down right into his crosshair.
Yeah.
Right? That is freaking cool. That is really, really high level fencing, especially in the midst of all of this motion. Like let's just go back and watch it for a second.
Look at spacebar. Yeah.
Ah.
What was it?
Look at how fast that happens.
Yeah.
Right? And he's able to make those adjustments, right?
Yeah.
So that's that frequency modus stuff paying off for sure. All right, we'll be done because we got to go to class.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, and so fencing.